anything from the state before we bring the jury in?
Your Honor, just sort of some logistics. We're going to do the remote witness now just to sort of be done with that part of it.
All right.
Riley has made it so counsel doesn't have to join the WebEx meeting. If Your Honor wants the witness to be able to see you, you would join the meeting. I believe she sent you an invite. If so, she would ask that you turn off your speakers and your microphone.
Okay, my speaker's off. I mean, the volume's off. How do I don't see where I've got anything. Where do I go?
Like a calendar? It should be a calendar invite, Your Honor. Is there, do you have?
I mean, I know how to get to my virtual courtroom through the calendar.
So like on our Outlook, we have a calendar that shows everything we've got scheduled for that day. Do you have that on your Outlook email?
On my, no, I don't have anything on.
Like if I email you,
yeah.
It comes up on Outlook, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's Outlook right there.
Okay, and then, do you mind if I? Riley, I don't see it on this calendar.
She said, when she sent it directly to Meagan, it went to this promoter.
That's my administrative assistant. She's not in.
If you open the WebEx up and go to the
What do you need? Yeah, if you send it directly, yeah, I would assume so.
Because whenever I set the calendar in, it looks like it's got days or dates.
Your Honor, actually, no. Taylor, when you swear tonight, can you come, if you stand over here, we'll be able to hear you.
Was it ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Your Honor,
Yes.
with the court's permission, based on where this camera is, I'm going to stand over there during the examination. Is that okay?
Yeah, that would be fine. I thought it was going to be published where they would be able to see it without having to move.
There, we've tried a couple of different things, and we cannot sort of project this screen up to there.
Yeah, but that's what I was telling you. We're going to have it set up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hope everyone had a good lunch. We're ready to resume the trial of the case. Make sure you have your own notepads and no one else's notepads. State can call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Keith Yan, who will be testifying via WebEx.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this next witness will be testifying virtually. Now, you are to judge this witness's credibility and the testimony the same way you would any other witness if the witness were present in person testifying in this stand.
Keith, can you turn on your camera? There you go. All right. And the clerk's going to swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that evidence you're about to give the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Keith, can you state your name and spell your name for the court reporter, please?
E-A-E-I-T-H dot Y-A-H-N.
And where do you work?
I work for NDI Recognition Systems in Winter Springs, Florida.
What did your company do?
We develop, produce, and sell license plate recognition to law enforcement and homeland security.
How long have you worked at NDI Recognition Systems?
22 years.
And what is your current position?
Chief Operating Officer.
And what are some of your duties and responsibilities?
Responsible for the general day-to-day operations of the business, from sales to support to production, installations, all of our operationals throughout the country.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury what a license plate reader does?
Sure. A license plate reader is a system devised of a camera connected to a computer that typically sits on the side of the road. The camera takes pictures of every vehicle that passes by and digitizes that picture and sends it to the computer that's attached. The computer then looks for the license plate in the picture, and it actually reads the text on the license plate and then sends that immediately via cellular modem to a server based at the state in the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. That all takes place sub-second, so it's almost instantaneous. And then it stores that data in the server, where it can be used for either historical analysis or to match immediately against hot lists that are also stored in the server.
What do you mean by hot list?
A hot list is a list that's typically created by the FBI, the state, or a local law enforcement agency, and it's a list of license plate numbers and why they may be wanted for some purpose, whether that be a stolen vehicle, a stolen license plate, expired insurance, wanted person, something like that.
How long have license plate readers been in use?
They were actually developed in the mid-90s. They've been in use ever since.
Do you have knowledge of license plate readers in Horry County?
I do, yes.
And specifically, do Myrtle Beach and the city of Conway use LPR systems provided by your company?
Yes, both do.
Can you explain how an LPR system obtains the date and time? Well, let me back up. If a still is created from the LPR system, does that contain a date and time and location?
It does, I'm sorry. When that data is sent from the roadside computer to the server, it does include a color overview picture of the vehicle, a zoomed in black and white picture of just the license plate, along with the location, the camera name, the date, the time, and the GPS coordinates.
How does the LPR system get the date and time that it uses on those stills?
The date and time from those stills comes from the computer that's on the roadside, which is a Windows-based processor. So it uses Windows time synchronization, which means every 9 hours, every 9.1 hours actually, that system will go out through the internet to a time server, which is pool.ntp.org, which is run by Microsoft, and it will synchronize the time. So the time is synchronized through the web every 9.1 hours.
Did you get the first part of that website, or do you need that? Yeah. Can you just spell out that first part of the website that you just said that it goes to?
Sure. It's not an actual website you have to visit. It's just for time synchronization. But the name of it is Pool, P-O-O-L, .ntp, as in network time protocol, .org.
Thank you very much. Have you been working with license plate readers since their inception, basically?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Based on your experience with the system, are the date and time included on LPR stills or reads accurate?
They are. They're such an important and integral part of the system that it's really important that we maintain accuracy there, which is why it's updated and synchronized every 9.1 hours.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Who's question?
Meagan, Coach Dontell, just one more item, Steve, co-counsel.
In a moment, I'm going to have you answer questions from one of the Britons on the cross-examination.
Okay.
Hey, how are you today?
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask you about, do you know how many, as you see here today, how many LPR cameras there are in Horry County?
In Horry County, I believe there's right about 40 that are operated by our company, and then they have some operated by some competitors as well.
Okay. And how about any in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? How many do you have in Myrtle Beach area?
Myrtle Beach, I believe, has 28.
And how many do you have in the Sockasty area?
I'm unfamiliar with that area, I'm sorry.
Okay. How about with Conway area?
In Conway, I believe there's right about 10.
Okay. All right. How about an Aner? Do you happen to know about Aner?
Objection relevance?
Cross-examination. Go ahead.
Do you happen to know how many there are in Aner, sir?
I don't know anything about Aner.
Okay. Were you asked to look at any specific areas, or did you do a general search for this license plate?
I don't do any searches for license plates.
Okay. So what was your involvement in this case?
We developed and sold the system to the law enforcement agencies, and the systems are operated with those within those jurisdictions.
Okay. So if there was a need to pull those LPRs in areas other than the ones that are in this case, would they have come to you to help pull those?
No, sir. They would have. Those are all contained in the server at SLED,
Okay.
so they would have gone to SLED.
Okay. And so if we wanted to know and see where these vehicles were at other times, you're not the guy for that?
No, I'm not.
Okay. But based on what you've told us, there are many cameras throughout both the city and the county. Is that correct?
There are.
Do you have any information at all about the facts in this case?
No, I don't. I have no idea about this case at all.
Okay. Big reports and doings.
All right.
No further questions?
All right, redirect.
No, Your Honor, but I would ask
Thank you, sir.
that Mr. Yan be allowed to return to work.
All right, any objection?
No, sir.
All right, ready to go. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Pete.
Thank you.
All right, State can call your next witness.
Here the state calls Jonathan Kelly.
Please raise your right hand and put your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give the court in this case with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, I do.
Thank you. Get you to state your name and then spell your last name for the court.
Sergeant Jonathan Kelly, last name is spelled Kelly.
Sergeant Kelly, where do you work?
Horry County Police Department,
How long have you worked there?
a little over 15 years.
What's your current position at Horry County PD?
Currently, I work for the Office of Professional Standards. Most people might refer to it as Internal Affairs.
How long have you worked with Internal Affairs?
7 months.
What are some of your duties and responsibilities as a sergeant in Internal Affairs?
Mostly, we conduct investigations related to policy violations. Additionally, we might respond to subpoenas and FOIA requests, things like that.
What was your assignment back in October 2020?
I was assigned as a detective to the homicide division
What were your duties as a detective assigned to the homicide division?
to investigate death investigations or violent assaults, robbery, and anything else, any other types of crimes that I was asked to do. Also assist other officers in whatever crimes they were investigating.
Were you asked to assist in the investigation into the murder of Gregory Rice on October 2nd, 2020?
I was.
How did you become involved?
On, I believe it was October 13th, I was asked to go to Abuelos near Coastal Grand Mall in the Myrtle Beach section of Horry County. And I was asked to obtain surveillance to see if there was, if the defendant and co-defendant were on surveillance.
Okay. And were you able to get surveillance footage from Abuenos?
I was. We got footage from roughly 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
And could you see the defendant on that footage?
I did.
Did you verify when you were out there that the date and time on the footage was correct?
Not the first day. So when we obtained surveillance on the 13th, we obtained, like I said, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And I then took that footage back to the office and reviewed it. I remembered after reviewing it that we hadn't verified the timestamp with current time. So the next day on the 14th, I went back to the location, verified that the timestamp was 35 minutes fast. So you'd have to subtract 35 minutes from the timestamp on the video to get real time. I also noticed during that time that we missed an angle the first time. When we were downloading the footage, we were trying to just get footage where patrons would be. So we didn't download the portions related to like back of house, like the chef's cook's area.
Okay.
So I observed a different angle as I was verifying the timestamp. So I also got additional footage that day as well on the 14th.
You said you verified the date and time. How did you do that?
I looked at what it was displayed on the live feed, and then I looked at my cell phone and just compared the two.
So you found out, I believe you said it was 35 minutes ahead?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
So State's Exhibit 14, it's already been admitted in evidence. Did you get a copy of the video from Abuelos that day?
Yes.
Did you provide a copy of that to the solicitor's office?
Yes.
Have you reviewed that flash drive?
I have.
And is that a copy, a true accurate copy of what we provided?
It is.
Okay?
And I can tell that because it has my signature on it.
You signed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 14A and 14C. Let's start with 14A. Have you reviewed that disc? You can take it out.
I don't see my signature on this one
Have
specifically.
you reviewed?
But it does say clips from Abuelo's video, which is the footage that I collected.
So have you reviewed clips from Abuelo's footage?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you 14C. Same question. Is that also a disc with clips? Is clips from 14?
Yes. Again, I don't see specifically my signature on this one, but it is also, the disc states that it's clips from Abuelo's, which would be the footage that I obtained.
Okay, and have you reviewed clips from Abuelo's?
Yes.
And are those clips fair and accurate representations of what's contained on Exhibit 14?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time the state would admit 14A and 14C in evidence and publish to the jury.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. That we instructed the witness that he's not able to establish the proper chain of custody for it. There's no signature on those documents, on those discs to identify that he's the person that handled them. Don't have any way to know whether or not they've been tampered or if those are in fact the ones that were procured from that day.
Your Honor, Do you want me to respond?
Well, no, he says he's just basing it upon what's written on there.
Well, he said that he's reviewed the clips. The clips he's,
But earlier on, he said
well,
he didn't know what it was, but he was reading as to what it is.
Your Honor, he's reviewed the clips. The solicitor's office just burns them to a disc from our system.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
So we'll use Exhibit 14.
Well, Exhibit 14 is voluminous.
Well, and I understand that,
We can.
but he did not properly authenticate 14A and 14C.
Your Honor, if it's okay with the court, we'll move on to a different witness. We'll have him review those, just so we don't have the jury sitting there watching a voluminous amount of material.
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
So for right now, I am sustaining the defendant's objections to 14A and 14C as they have not been properly authenticated.
Okay, we'll have him review them, Your Honor, and get back to it.
All right.
So I can step down?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, wait a minute, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we were trying to pause this witness and recall him in a few minutes.
We're not gonna do that.
Well, I guess we'll have to play the video then, I'm sorry.
All right.
What we'll do is try to, Your Honor, let's maybe break. Let's just.
Motion made.
All right, they want you to review that video.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Defense counsel wants to go over there while they review it.
Oh, sure, yes, sir. Thank you.
Well.
Your Honor, is the jury going to watch and review the video?
No, it's not in evidence. It cannot be seen by the jury at this juncture.
Thank you.
They won't be able to see it. Make sure that you project it. Well, you're gonna make some important questions.
You get that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you just step off the stand and watch State's Exhibit 14A?
I did.
Is that a copy of clips from the video surveillance you obtained from Abuenos?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate copy of the actual footage you obtained?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state seeks to admit 14A in evidence and publish to the jury.
Any objection?
Not to be difficult, Your Honor, but they still haven't established a chain of custody with this particular disc, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the chain of custody is not required for this disc.
Let me make the ruling.
Okay.
Okay, you don't need to continue arguing, you tendered it into evidence, they've raised their objection, now I've got to rule on their objection, all right? All right, State's Exhibit 14A is admitted into evidence over defendant's objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm going to show you 14C. Have you also reviewed 14C?
I have.
And is that a true and accurate copy of the video footage you actually obtained that day?
It is.
Your Honor, the state seeks to introduce 14C in evidence and publish it to the jury.
Any objection?
Mr. Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit 14C admitted into evidence without objection.
All right. Detective, I'm sorry, Sergeant Kelly.
Yes, ma'am.
We just watched State's Exhibit 14C. Could you identify anyone that you could see on that video?
Yes.
And who was that?
Chris Dontell and Meagan Jackson were exiting the location. And again,
And were you familiar with Chris Dontell and Meagan Jackson prior to obtaining this video?
yes.
How did you know who they were?
Chris Dontell was a deputy coroner, so he had been on several death investigations that I had been on, so working relationship, had known him. And same with Meagan Jackson. She was a transport driver for the coroner's office, or for a contracted company, I guess. But I knew
you
her.
recognize them by sight?
Yes.
You know what they look like?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I think I played them out of order. Let's play 14A. So that one, I believe you just said was them leaving.
Correct.
Can you tell me, if you can still see it, the date and time stamp on there?
That says October 2nd, 2020 at 19:57, which is military time is actually 7:57. But again, that's 35 minutes fast. So it should be maybe 7:22, if I'm
Okay.
subtracting that right.
Exactly. Athlete must run to. Okay, let's see. Let's play 14A. Okay, we just watched 14A. Can you tell me what you viewed on that video?
That was Chris and Megan arriving at Abuelos about 50 minutes earlier than the previous video.
Okay. So they're out of order, but one is them arriving and one's leaving.
Correct.
And what's the date on both of those?
October 2nd, 2020.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'm going to approach with what's been marked as State's Exhibit 14B. Can you tell me what this is?
This is one of the other angles. This is a screenshot of Chris and Megan sitting at the bar at Abuelos on the same date, and the timestamp on that is 7:09.
Okay. And is that a steal from the video, State's Exhibit 14?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, State seeks to introduce 14B in evidence.
Any objection?
Mr. Your Honor.
Next exhibit 14B, admitted into evidence without objection.
Oh, Your Honor, we published this to the jury.
All right.
Okay, Sergeant Kelly, there's a red circle on here. Who do you see sitting at the bar?
That's Chris and Megan.
And again, what time was that?
Timestamp on there is 1909, which would be 7:09. And again, you have to subtract 35 minutes to get the right time, I believe.
I'm going to approach and show you what's been marked state exhibit 15, 16, and 17. And are these also stills from the video we literally just watched?
Yes, the time on this, or the number 17 is Chris and Megan leaving. Number 16 is Chris and Megan arriving, as is number 15. Those are just a few seconds apart.
And are those fair and accurate representations of video stills from State's Exhibit 14?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, State would seek to admit 15, 16, and 17 into evidence and publish to the jury.
Any objection?
That's right, Your Honor.
All right, states exhibits 15, 16, and 17, admitted into evidence without objection.
So I believe you just kind of told us what they show, but just for the purpose of, look at. Okay, just now that the jury can actually see the picture, I know we've seen the video, but just tell me what this exhibit 15 shows.
This is Chris and Megan arriving, and as I'm looking at this, I also realized the timestamp on the actual footage there is that was 7:41 on the timestamp. But the time that was showing on the video clip was covering that timestamp, so that's actually the accurate time.
Okay.
So the time that was showing on the videos that we watched was accurate timing. This is when I watched the video on the actual footage. That's the timestamp that's on there.
So there's the original time and a corrected time, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
So that timestamp at the bottom center of the photo is the timestamp that the footage shows
Okay.
from the surveillance system. That time that's noted on the right is the corrected time when you subtract the 35 minutes.
And I believe you testified that you verified that night that the correct time was the time in real life.
Yes.
Okay, let's have 16. Okay, so in this photo, who do you see in this photo?
That's Chris Dontell and Meagan Jackson again.
And can you tell from this photo what Christopher Dantel is wearing?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's like a blue long sleeve shirt and some dark colored pants with brown shoes.
And what's the date and time stamp on this one?
This is October 2nd, 2020.
Okay, let's have exhibit 17, please. Okay, and once again, what do you see in this video?
Again, this is when Chris Dontell and Meagan Jackson are leaving Abuelos.
What's the date and time stamp on this one?
That is October 2nd, 2020.
What's the accurate time?
The accurate time is 7:57 p.m.
Okay. Did you, after going to Abuelos and locating this surveillance footage, did you try to check any other businesses in the area to see if any additional surveillance footage could be located?
I did. I checked.
Go ahead.
I checked Coastal Grand Mall and some of the other businesses on the exterior of Coastal Grand Mall and the exterior perimeter road around Coastal Grand Mall, and I didn't find anything of interest.
Okay. You said you found nothing else.
Yeah, nothing of interest.
Did you and another detective check for video at or near the Lowe's Food Plaza on International Drive?
Yes.
Why were you asked to do that?
There was information that Greg Rice's phone tracked to that area. One of its last pings was in that area, so we were just checking businesses around that area for surveillance footage.
Okay. And what date were you looking for?
I believe October 2nd and into October 3rd, I believe.
Why was that date important?
That was the last day that his phone pinged, and that was I believe, the last time that it was reported that he was seen.
Okay. Were you able to locate any surveillance footage from that shopping center?
Yes.
Where were you able to get it from?
Howl's computer repair.
Okay. Where's that located?
I don't know the exact address, but if you're looking at Lowe's front door from the parking lot, it's to the left, but in the same structure, like the same plaza building.
Okay. Have you reviewed that video?
I have.
And does that video have a date and time stamp?
It does.
Okay. We've learned from our stipulation that that time stamp's 10 minutes fast. I'm going to approach with what's already been admitted into evidence as states Exhibit 21,
Yes.
just to see. Is this a copy, did you give a copy of the surveillance to the solicitor?
The copy was, I'm not sure how necessarily it was delivered, but again, my signature's not on this particular.
This one's already been admitted into evidence.
Okay.
The copy that we make copies of what you provide.
Okay, yes, so, yes, it was submitted to evidence.com and evidence the way that we would normally submit it, correct?
Okay, so when you say you submitted to evidence.com, is that uploading it to a computer software system?
Yes,
So you're not, I'm just clarifying, you're not actually delivering flash drives to the solicitor's office?
correct.
All right. Did you also, I'm going to approach with what's been marked as State Exhibit 22. Yeah. Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right, so this one, I believe has your initials, so let's look and see.
Yes,
Okay, so have you reviewed that disc and verified what it is?
yes.
And what is that disc?
This is clips from the footage obtained from Howl's surveillance camera.
Okay, and is this a fair and accurate representation of the clips that you obtained?
Yes,
Your Honor, at this time, the state seeks to introduce Exhibit 22 in evidence and publish in the jury.
Meagan Jackson.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
State Exhibit 22 admitted in evidence without objection.
Okay, so, play 22A. So pause for 1 second, just for clarification. Sergeant Kelly,
yes, ma'am.
when you obtained this video footage, did you obtain footage other than just the defendant? That's inartfully worded. What I'm asking is, when you obtained it, did you obtain a specific time period and not just footage of the defendant?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So are what we're looking at here clips of the portions of the footage that relate to the defendant, Meagan Jackson?
Correct.
Okay. So let's play this one. Okay, So, first of all, just pause it. What's the date and time on this video?
October 2nd, 2020.
And can you read the timestamp?
The time says 23:17, and if I remember right, I believe that's 10 minutes fast, so it should actually really be, in layman's terms, it would be 11:07 p.m.
Okay, and as we watch the video, can you tell us what you see in the video?
As we watch it,
Yep,
Okay.
as it happens, try to narrate.
All right.
We can pause it when we need to.
there's a silver Ford Explorer, which I know is what Chris Dontell drives as a county vehicle, and the van that pulled in is also what I know Meagan Jackson drives for transport.
Okay?
Here we see Dantel getting out of the vehicle, and we'll see in a second his clothing is the same that he was wearing at Abuelos.
Does he have anything in his hand?
He has a,
May I have an objection if I can say it, please?
All right.
I don't believe it's appropriate for the witness to narrate the evidence. This is the evidence that they're presenting to the jury. The jury's able to see it. Doesn't need to be a narrator for it. And I don't think that's appropriate testimony on it.
Would you like me to respond?
Please.
Your Honor, the witness is narrating the video because he's a police detective, and as part of his investigation, he reviewed this video and located the defendants and their cars and the defendants themselves on the video. This is a way the state frequently presents evidence. It's nothing out of the ordinary. I don't see anything wrong with the defendant stating what he sees on the video. He can either do it while it's playing, or I can have him do it when it's not playing.
Well, I don't think it's because it's been done in the past makes it something you just can do today, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to allow the testimony, but ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you to decide factually what the video shows. If you find that the witness's account does not coincide with what you view, then you're to disregard his testimony. I'll allow him to testify as to what he says the video shows, but ultimately it's going to be your decision to decide what the video shows. All right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You can continue to narrate what you see.
so he's carrying a bag.
Okay?
At this point, he appears to open the rear hatch to the van and puts the bag in the rear area of the van. It's now roughly real-time 11:10. Chris Dontell opens and closes the rear hatch of the Explorer. And just a few seconds later, still roughly 11:10 p.m., the van drives out of the parking lot.
And you may have already said this, but did you recognize that van?
Yeah, that's what I know Meagan Jackson to drive.
In what capacity did she drive that van?
Transport van for transporting dissidents or decedents.
Let's play the second clip. what's the date and time on this video?
This one is October 3rd, 2020, and the timestamp shows 12:25 a.m., just after midnight, but the actual time is 12:15 a.m.
Okay. I'm looking for this. And what do you see parked there in the parking lot?
The Explorer is still there, and now a van is pulling up. It's the same make, model, appearing to be the same transport van that Meagan Jackson is known to drive. There I see, again, same outfit, Chris Dontell exiting the driver's seat, going into the rear hatch of the van, pulls out what appears to be the same bag from earlier. It was hard to see there, but in between the two vehicles, you could see a person walk from the passenger side of the van in between the vehicles, and the clothing was dark. So I assume Meagan Jackson. It's consistent with the clothing she was seen in Abuelos. Chris Dontell loads the bag back into the Ford Explorer and gets into the driver's seat. Now, real time, it is roughly 12:17 a.m. and the Explorer is driving off. And now the van is left behind.
All right, let's move on to the next group. Okay, what's the date and time here?
This is October 3rd, 2020. Timestamp says 1:27 a.m. Real time would be 1:17 a.m.
Okay, you can press one. And what do you see parked in the parking lot there?
Meagan Jackson's van is still parked there. There's a silver Ford Explorer arriving, which is consistent with Chris Dontell's county vehicle. Again, we see coming from the passenger side, a person appearing to wear all dark clothing. That's consistent with what I saw in the Abuelos video that Meagan Jackson was wearing. She appears to get into the passenger side of the van. Chris Dontell grabs the bag out of the Explorer again, walks to the van, pops the rear hatch. Places the bag in the van, closes the rear hatch. Then he gets into the driver's seat of the van at timestamp 1:29, but again, 10 minutes fast. That would real time would be 1:19. And then the van drives off, leaving the Explorer behind again this time.
Okay. fine with it. All right, so what's the date and time here?
This is October 3rd, 2020. Timestamp says 8:25 a.m. It's actually 8:15 a.m.
Okay.
You can see the Explorer, Silver Explorer, is still parked in the same spot from the last video. Doesn't appear to have moved. And arriving is a minivan, again, consistent with Meagan Jackson's van. It's a little difficult to see, but in between the palm fronds there, you can see, again, clothing matching what Chris Dontell was wearing in the Abuelos footage. He goes into the rear hatch of the van, grabs a bag that appears to be the same bag that he's moved back and forth. Timestamp now says 8:28 a.m., which is actually 8:18. You can see the Ford Explorer that Chris Dontell drives is leaving, and then also the van is leaving behind it. And they both leave the parking lot.
Just to be clear, are those merely clips of the entire surveillance video that you retrieved?
That's correct.
So if the jury wanted to watch, could they watch the entire?
They could.
And all those videos that we just saw, were the two vehicles that you pointed out, the Silver Explorer and the van, consistent throughout?
Yes.
And I believe, you said you recognize those?
Yes. They both appear to be consistent with what Chris Dontell or Meagan Jackson would use at work.
Let's move on to, did you respond to the Myrtle Beach Funeral Home?
Yes.
And where's that located?
I don't recall the address, but it's just south of Faro Parkway and Highway 17 bypass in the Myrtle Beach section of Horry County.
Okay. And were you able to determine whether Myrtle Beach Funeral Home had an alarm system?
Yes.
Were you able to determine if it was functioning at the time of this murder?
It was functional, but the owner had kept it disabled because he was getting too many false alarms. So he didn't want to pay the false alarm fines.
So
there was an active system, but it was not being utilized.
okay. What about surveillance footage? Were you able to get any surveillance footage from the Myrtle Beach Funeral Home?
No. It did have surveillance system at one time, but the information that we obtained was that it had been rendered non-functional during another review for a different instance.
Okay. So were you able to obtain any surveillance footage from the Myrtle Beach Funeral Home?
No, it was not functional at that time.
Okay. What, if anything, did you learn about who has access to the Myrtle Beach Funeral Home?
We asked the funeral director and learned that
What's his name? Here's that.
Defense has asked a number of witnesses if they had, a number of law enforcement witnesses, if there were any reports of shots fired the night Greg Rice was killed. In your experience, are there always calls when shots are fired in Horry County?
not always.
cross-examination.
Course indulgence.
All right.
Was that the extent of your involvement, sir?
In relation to the death investigation, yes. I believe I obtained a search warrant for maybe some GPS locations related to a possible bond violation,
Okay.
but I'd have to check my notes to remember the exact details.
Did you, as we see here today, do you have a general understanding of what's been alleged to have happened?
Yes.
Do you understand that there's an allegation that Ms. Jackson and Chris Dontell were having an affair?
Correct.
They're having an affair, right? And
Bless you.
bless you are. And as part of that, some of what we've seen here in terms of Lowe's, you notice every time they left Lowe's and they were going towards Meagan Jackson's house, what vehicle were they in?
I don't know which direction they went when they left the parking lot.
Oh, you didn't have that, that was not part of your investigation? You don't know where they left and went to?
No, I don't.
Okay. Would it make sense to you that if they were going to take their vehicle, drive to Meagan Jackson's house, where Erica Dantel, the person who is in the dark, lives nearby, that they would take Meagan Jackson's vehicle so as not to reveal
Objection,
the
Your
affair?
Honor. Calls for speculation.
That could make sense, yes.
Okay. And so all of the shuffling around of vehicles makes sense for people who are engaged in an affair that they are trying to hide. You agree with that?
Yeah.
You'd also agree with me, wouldn't you, that Meagan Jackson appears to be wearing the same clothes at Abuenos as she was at Lowe's?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that we don't have any audio from any of this footage?
That is correct.
Okay. So we don't know what they were discussing at Abuenos.
Correct.
So any effort to determine what they were discussing based on the evidence you have presented would just be speculation, right?
Correct.
You likewise agree with me that people who are, again, having an affair still have to eat. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And so just being at a restaurant together in and of itself is not any kind of proof of any kind of negative or improper activity.
This is correct.
You probably also agree with me that in these times when there's no report of gunshots, that'd be a little less likely in an area where there are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 residents.
The more densely populated an area is, I would suggest the more likely somebody might call. Horry County's a rural county, though, and you are allowed to hunt in the rural counties, the rural areas of Horry County. You're allowed to shoot as long as you have proper backstop and things like that. So it's not uncommon to hear gunshots in Horry County.
How about at Arrowhead, sir? Flint Lake Apartments. How many people live out there?
It's densely populated there, but there are wooded areas, and there's the intracoastal waterway right there as well.
So we can agree that Flint Lake Apartments is densely populated with people who presumably can hear.
Yeah,
correct?
correct.
And not only is Flint Lake Apartments in and of itself densely populated, the area driving in and out of there is densely populated with homes.
Correct. There's also woods in that area as well, but yes, it's Myrtle Beach, so it's more metropolitan than, say, Green Sea or Aner.
Okay. Court's indulgence?
All right.
No further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Redirect.
Briefly, Your Honor. I believe Mr. Britton asked you a question about the videos, and you see a lot of shuffling back and forth, and is that consistent with people having an affair? In your 15 years in law enforcement, is that shuffling around also consistent with people involved in a homicide?
It could be. It could be for any number of reasons. I don't know how to elaborate more. It could be for any number of reasons, but that could be also another possibility.
Okay.
All right.
Nothing further, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
You may step down.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, give you an opportunity to stretch your legs, get something to drink, leave your notepads in the jury box, do not discuss the case, you get them on yourself. We'll take another 15-minute break, and we'll come back in a second.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
Yes, sir, just a request. I need access to that computer after we're done today. We're just trying to figure out how I can do that without putting the bailiff's call. I don't want
What
to.
computer you talking about?
This one has the hard drive that was given to us as discovery. It's not something I can just pick up, move, take back to the office. It's essentially my office for this case. So I just need some time, but I don't know how to go about arranging that. If they'll let me in early, I'll come over.
You're going to have a bailiff stay here with you while you go through it, or you're going to have to take it somewhere with you. So, I mean, I'll allow you access to it, but I think those are your two choices. I don't know how to give you access without having somebody here to keep the courtroom open.
Understood. Okay. And then the second request is just, since we made a decision on the guns, would it be fair to have the box of the gun right here maybe removed from courtroom?
I mean, are they viewable by the jury?
No, they're not, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take about a 15-minute break.